can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
And we can't even tell him. Uh,
I'm
uh-oh.
mm-hmm. I'm calling Sarah Brown to see if she can message.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You know?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We have a little technical issue. Um, hmm. Yeah. Hi. Hello. Sorry. Good evening, everybody. Again, Aya Johnson here. Can everybody hear me? Can you just let me know in the comments if you can hear me now? Can you hear me, please? Officer and Mrs. Shirley Bucci. Is the audio good now, everybody? Okay, good. Thank you, Leanne Christie Torres. Now I got to figure out what's wrong with my
Mm-hmm.
picture. Um, so today we want to talk about the preschool experience. At the end of this program, we hope that you would, if you are parents planning to come into preschool, bring your child into preschool, we hope you'll be empowered with some information that will allow you to sort of evaluate the preschool value proposition. Um, and we also hope that you will be able to understand, issues like school readiness and how the system sort of responds to developmental delays in the early years, as well as the benefits, some conversation about the curriculum. Um, and that's kind of about it, really. So let's get on with it. I want to start with the assistant director to give us a sort of rundown as to how we came about the preschool system in um, in the public school. Oh, CITV is not on yet. Oh, that's nice. Ms. Bucci, can you talk to us about the sort of the history and the background of preschool, please? Can you hear me? You can't hear me.
I can hear you. It's a
Ms.
delay.
Bucci, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you
Bucci?
hear? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So our public preschools, which are often referred to as the government preschools, started way back in 1967. We've just celebrated not too long ago our 50 years. And they started out of an idea that Stanley Rattery had at the time, coming out of the Head Start program that's very familiar in the US. And we had at that time three bases here in Bermuda, and there were now both parents going out to work, and it was an opportunity to improve on what was being offered for funds to provide early care and education for children at the age of 4. So our first government preschool was St. John's Preschool. It's now Victor Scott Preschool and located inside of the Victor Scott Primary School. Ms. Ruth Thomas, a very familiar and well-known figure in Bermuda, she was very instrumental in getting the preschool started and having them expand. They expanded out to St. Anne's Preschool, and then we went on to extend further to St. Paul's. So that was between 1967 and 1969. And so today, we're very happy to have with us Ms. Nancy Manuel, who is the preschool administrator of one of our first preschools, St. Paul's Preschool, which is still located at St. Paul's Church. St. Anne's now has moved on to Southampton Preschool next to Delton E. Tucker. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes,
can
Ms.
hear
Bucci,
me?
we heard you. Just the last few minutes got
Okay.
cut off. Just waiting for Ayu to join us.
Pushan Ma says can't hear. And then Tyra says she's frozen. I don't know what's happened. Can anyone see anything? I'm not too sure if the public. Now.
Sure, no problem at all. So all of the government preschools use the creative curriculum, which is based on 75 years of research in the best practices of the way children develop and learn. It's a very child-centered curriculum. It has purposeful play. And by that, I mean that the teachers actually use the creative curriculum in studies, and the children investigate those studies. Right now, we're doing a building study with the children, and instead of just telling them about buildings, what we do is create activities so that they can actually explore and find out the answers to questions themselves. One of the stories that we read for the building study was The Three Little Pigs. And by the way, all the literature that is provided with creative curriculum is award winning. So we read The Three Little Pigs, and then we asked the kids, if you were going to build a house, what would you use, straw, sticks, or bricks? And many of them said that they would still use straw or sticks. A few said bricks. So we decided to go ahead and create an experiment where they could actually build houses out of straw and sticks and bricks. And then they could pretend they were the wolf, and they could experiment and find out which house stood up to the big blow of the wolf. So those are the kinds of things that we do. We let them go ahead and explore and figure it out for themselves, find the answers out to those questions themselves. So that's the kind of curriculum we use. There are 38 objectives that we're constantly looking for. It's a great curriculum. It's very hands-on. As I said, it's purposeful play.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you for sharing.
Sorry, I just got to apologize for the technical issues. Could somebody in the audience tell me if CITV's got this feed? A little bit of feedback. So when you get that message, can you tell us if CITV is on? Because it might be an issue there as well. Anyway, so we were talking earlier about the preschool curriculum, and I'm trying to understand whether some people think it's just a babysitting service. Is that correct? How does it work? Thanks, Sarah. CITV is back on.
Okay.
Would you like to explain to us, Mrs. Manuel, about the curriculum? Is there a curriculum for preschool?
Yes, I'm not sure if I'm repeating myself, but I just said, but I don't mind at all saying it again. We use the creative curriculum, which is a fabulous curriculum. It's based on 75 years of research on how children best learn and develop. The curriculum is very hands-on, very child-centered. It's purposeful play. We create experiences for the children so that they can find out the answers to questions themselves.
Okay. Yeah, you did say that. Sorry, I wasn't paying too much attention.
That's okay.
And it's not mandatory. So why should a parent send their child to preschool? If it's not mandatory, they don't have to do it. Why should they do it?
Well, all of the teachers in government preschool have at least a bachelor's degree. They're all passionate about children. They have embraced this curriculum. This curriculum is very rigorous. The PD that is required for the teacher to be able to use this curriculum requires a lot from the teachers. You have to be passionate about children to be using this curriculum and to be working in a government preschool. I think government preschool has some of the best teachers out of any school on the island. And I would encourage anyone to if you're in doubt, give any of the administrators a call and have a talk with them.
Okay.
Yeah, the additional benefits are that, of course, the parents don't have to pay anything. There is no cost to parents to have their children in our schools. Of course, it's paid by taxpayer dollars, but we have been running our preschools for, like I said, over 50 years at no cost to parents. And the benefits are socialization. Children are coming out of the bossy twos, and they're very all about me, and they're learning to socialize, to share, to regulate their behavior, to wait, to take turns, They're learning independence, and we are certainly expecting them to have already mastered toileting, so they're independent in that way as well. They learn how to get along with others, and they are learning how to learn. So they're asking questions, they're exploring, they're curious, and they're inquiring, they're interacting in rich environments. And so we believe that there are many benefits to our government Bermuda Public Schools, these schools. Very exciting, rich, nurturing environments. And we're really working hard to build a strong foundation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay, can we talk to Mrs. Trott? What exactly do you do?
Sure. Good evening.
What's your
I
role
am an
in all of
education
this?
officer. I'm an education officer for the Department of Education, and I assist families transitioning their children from private preschools to our government preschool and our preschool to primary one. So any special need that a child might have, a parent can call me. We can discuss the needs of their child, and we make sure that child has a smooth transition into our public school system.
Okay. And what happens when there are sort of like developmental delays? Because that's your area, isn't it? Special
Yes,
education.
any special needs. So if they have a developmental delay, the parent will fill out the application and note it on the application their child's special needs. And they can call me directly, and I would set up a meeting with the parent and find out what the concern is. And then we would meet, and I would have a transition meeting with the new school, and we would discuss that child's needs so that our public school system is ready for them in September.
Wonderful. We have a pretty positive endorsement here.
Okay.
Elizabeth Varao says her daughter attended Lyceum and they were amazing even during the pandemic. I noticed huge strides in her learning. Can you all read that?
Yes.
Yes.
Recommend them to any Hamilton Parish family. Wow. That's
Two
strong
thumbs up.
endorsement. What
Give my numbers.
so what do we attribute that kind of improvement to?
And that's for me. So all government preschools, all 10 preschools follow the same curriculum. Like Ms. Manuel said, they're all qualified with at least a bachelor's level. Some even have their master's. And we really have, in the last 3 years, had a lot of training with the creative curriculum. And so parents seeing these kind of comments about our preschools make us smile because they really, the preschool teachers and administrators, really work hard to ensure these children are learning to the best. And we're looking at the whole child. So like Ms. Bucci said, yes, we're looking at the children that they can share, they can take turns, that they use their manners, that they can sit and listen to a story. All those things we're doing in preschool, getting them ready for primary one, as well as, of course, the academics when Ms. Manuel talked about the 38 objectives. So I'm really, that makes me smile to know that so many parents, and that's one parent, but I've had many parents tell me that they're really happy with our preschool.
Jacqueline Eve, I know your registration. You
Good
went
evening.
through the system many years ago, correct? A couple of decades ago.
Well, not at the
Your child
preschool
did a
level,
preschool?
at the primary school level. Yeah, not government preschool. Government primary school.
Or primary school?
Primary school.
Okay. Send them to preschool, correct?
Pardon? You're talking to me now?
So you chose
Your
to go
experience.
straight to primary school and not preschool.
Right, correct.
Okay. As a registration officer, what are your what are your sort of priorities at the moment, and what are your concerns about as we head into registration?
Well, with the upcoming registration, which is due to be held on February the 2nd to the 4th, I think we are going to have a enormous amount of applications coming in In light of COVID and the current conditions that we are experiencing in Bermuda, I have had a swamp of calls coming in asking about our preschools. It's very important at this time to be prepared for the registration period. Each parent should be prepared with a copy of their child's birth certificate as well as a Belco bill for verification of address. They should keep in mind that at the preschool level, enrollment is based on residential parish. So there is a preschool just about in every parish. Some schools actually accommodate two parishes. So parents can keep in mind, and there will be a listing that will be posted next week of all the primary preschools, that are available for registration, and get your applications in on time. It is very important to get them in on time. And one thing that was already mentioned is the special needs of a child. If a child does have any type of need, it is very important to stress that on the application. This year we are embarking on a new venture, which is online registration. So I'm quite excited about that. There will be a link that will be posted next week. The link will become available February 2nd, and persons can go ahead and start uploading their documentation and inputting all of their information for that. The application process does close on February 4th. So that is very important to take note. Each child, I must say that each child must be toileted. That is very important, that the child has to be toileted, and they should also have completed their 2-year-old child development screening.
Okay.
Okay.
And if there's Marion Dyer, I think she's a preschool teacher.
Yes.
She has a comment here about a big focus
Social emotional learning.
on social emotional skills.
Social emotional
Yes.
skills.
Where is
Yeah.
Marion Dyer again?
St. David's Preschool.
Oh, okay, right.
And
Thank you for
Ms. Dyer's
joining
right.
us, Ms. Dyer.
Is that the main? So that's a main advantage, right? That they get to develop their social and emotional skills at a very
That's
early age.
That's very important. Research shows that is foundational. Relationship building with the adults, your carers, first of all, in your home, but certainly in your schools. Learning to express their feelings when they're feeling sad, instead of, just being quiet or upset, having a temper tantrum, being able to regulate and manage themselves and to develop that emotional maturity. However, if the environment is chaotic, if it is not predictable, if the relationships are not warm and friendly and inviting, it makes it very difficult for us to support the foundational social and emotional needs of children. That is fundamental. And we, of course, focus on other domains such as physical, the cognitive, communication, language, math, science, the arts, the social studies, cultural. When Mrs. Manuel talked about the building study, well, we have buildings in Bermuda, and our buildings in Bermuda are unique. We have our roofs that are painted white for a certain reason. We have catchments. We have water tanks. We have had quarrying as our history, where we go and cut out the blocks and we build our homes. Now we make concrete blocks. So there is much to learn about Bermuda through our studies and our investigation. But the social emotional is certainly foundational, and relationship building. Children learn in warm relationships. We don't want to have children nervous or, coming in agitated. We want them to be relaxed and have joyful learning experiences.
You said buildings are painted white for a reason. Why?
I said our rooftops are painted
Oh, I'm
white
sorry.
for
I
a
was thinking.
reason. Yes, and the
Right.
reason I was saying that is because that's very unique to Bermuda.
Mm,
And so when we're studying about buildings and we're using an international curriculum, we make it our own. When we're learning, we're learning about other places, but first we're learning about Bermuda. What's unique about our home?
oh,
What
I see. Gotcha.
Yes, and so then we extend out. We can talk about homes in other countries. Uh, we can learn about the three pigs and their home. Yes.
Good stuff. And
Just going back to the social
yeah.
emotional piece, I just wanted to say also that we have the Owls Pals program in government
Thank you.
preschools. And that is a program that teaches children how to take turns, how to be a good friend, what do they do when they're scared or sad at school, how do they handle big emotions, where's a safe place to go when you're having those big feelings. Uh, it's a really it's really important because you can have the smartest child in the world, but if they can't take turns and get along, then they're not going to have a very successful time in school. So it's so important that they learn these basic skills in preschool. And Owls
Right.
Pals is a puppet based program that really helps them to learn strategies to cope with the feelings that they're having.
Okay. What happens, Miss Trott, when a child is sort of identified, and how does that happen? Identified with special needs.
Mm.
Does a parent
So,
tell you, or do you? What? How does it work?
so yes, a parent would be one way that I can find out about a child. The child development program also provides services for families, and so sometimes if parents give consent, then I would hear about children through CDP, and I would call the parent, and we would start forming our relationship about what their child needs entering into our system. The one thing I want to add is that children can have speech, OT or PT, which is occupational therapy or physiotherapy, and they may receive those services through child development program. And to make it a smooth transition, those services continue into our preschool and into our P1. So those children will continue the service of support that they need to be successful. So I just wanted to share, and also in preschool, we have educational therapists providing support. We have counselors that provide support, and we have, of course, our preschool learning support teachers that provide support to children. So we look at the whole child, whether it's behavior, it's academics, it's social emotional, it's speech or language or vocabulary development concerns. It could be concerns with walking upstairs or even writing their name, which we know is developmentally appropriate in the second term of preschool. But we we have those therapists come in and they assist the teachers with providing that type of support.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm. Okay.
How do you test a 3-year-old? How do you assess how they're developing?
So
Anybody?
depending on what the concern is, we have school psychologists that provide service from preschool up to senior school. We also have preschool learning support teachers that can do certain assessments. But
Yeah.
when the child enters preschool, we do a school readiness brigade screener. And even if your child is identified as having a special need, we would have a team meeting and we would try some strategies before we put them in any specific program. So we want to know what's the concern, why is it a concern, and we really investigate that before we just provide service.
Okay. Great.
May I
Actually, there's a
add?
question here. So you want to add something?
Yes.
I I wanted to add that we engage in what is called authentic assessment, which is observing children in their natural environment as they play, as they communicate, as they are going about their school day. So even though all children may not engage in more high level assessments or screenings because of concerns, we are looking at all children's development, and we have an approach where we individualize and differentiate. That means that we look at each child as an individual and help to plan out what are the next steps for learning. And that takes place through observation, interaction with them, and sometimes setting up the environment intentionally so that we can find out a little bit more.
Great. I think there's a question for you, Jacqueline Eve. A parent is asking if there will be the opportunity to drop off applications in person if they don't have access to Wi-Fi and uploading the documentation online.
Okay. Any parent that does have an issue with the online registration and does that, if they can please give me a call. My number is 505-1395. I believe it's going to be displayed on the screen after. Contact me and we can discuss the application process further for them.
Is the reason why you're doing it online because of the pandemic, or is this something that you were planning to do in any case?
No, it was something that's been in the works for over a year now. And so now it's more fitting now for it to now take place because we can no longer drop off applications. The process used to be that they would complete the application form and drop it back to the preschools. But since we cannot do that, like I said, it's quite timely now that we actually go to online registration.
Awesome. Another good comment here. This is about CDP, actually. Sarah Brown, who is actually a preschool administrator, is praising the services of CDP because they supported her daughter. Services from 8 months old all the way through the end of her preschool year. It was a consistency of receiving those services in the public preschool, ensuring that she got the support she needed. Then, because of this, she transitioned to P1 ready. I'll be forever grateful to CDP and St. Paul's preschool staff. Everybody likes preschool? Wow, you guys are doing well.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'm used to people criticizing public education. What's going on? Come on, guys. There must be some of you.
And with those needs, it's important to stress that on the application. On the online registration, there are several questions that the parents can answer. And we cannot stress it enough to make sure that you do state your needs, the needs of your child, because we honestly try to prepare for your children ahead of time.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit about CDP since it came up? Do
Sure.
most preschool children start off in the child development services? Or do you get people children who come without having gone through CDP?
We have children coming from a variety of places. However, CDP, is a child development program, is designed mainly to support parents with children. It can be, the children can be typically developing. We can help them with understanding and learning about development. They also work to support children with developmental delays or disorders, children that have medical conditions or have some physical conditions that they need support in early. So many families may engage in the child development program particularly through the universal screening. That's for all children 18 months to about 36 months, where they can come in, or we will come, not during COVID, but normally we would go into the home and we would screen the children there. And if there is indicated that they need further assessment, we have a psychologist that will assess them further with in the area of their development. And we also have there the ECAT team, which helps to screen out whether children may have be found on the autism spectrum, or they may have some other concerns. So it's CDP has a very specialized team, and we do partner with the health department, where we have the allied health, such as what Ms. Trott said, the OTs, PTs, speech and language, but we also have CDP specialists that specialize in behavior, development, the screening and assessment. And we also have a coaching, parent mentor and coaching, which is the Parent Child Plus. And your child does not have to have special needs. But I would say that at least half of the children coming through registration have had some contact with the child development. But I would say about 25% may of CDP's clientele may be transitioned through Ms. Trott over into preschool, or at times it could be P1 because they may have not gone into our government preschools, and sometimes we transition children over into Dane, Margie Dane, Hope Academy. And so we encourage people to get the screening because it helps us to help them before they even come on board. And we're trying to build strong foundations. And by the time they come into preschool, you have 9 months, and then when you look, it's time for P1. So it's better if we can get an early start, and that we can help support children prior to preschool.
Great. There is a question here about registration. Is it the same for P1? So is everybody's going to be registering online now?
Yes. So the process of registration February 2nd to the 4th is for preschool and P1. And yes, it does follow the same process.
Okay. What are the three things or top things that not children, parents need to know? Yeah, registering, going into registration.
Going into registration, like I said, there is a requirement of your copy of your child's birth certificate, a copy of a Balco bill for verification of address. There are different options for verifications of address. Some documentation is not permitted, such as a cell phone bill. We often hear a lot that, a certain child is in a school, they don't belong there. I would like to stress and reassure the public that we do look at Balco bills for verification of address to make sure that you are in the correct parish, that you are in the correct zone when it comes to primary schools. There is a distinction. Enrollment for preschools is based on parish. Enrollment for primary schools is based on zones. In the primary school, you have a little bit more choice in terms of you have 6 schools in each zone. There's a total of 18 primary schools, so there's 3 zones, Eastern, Central, and Western zone. So it opens the gap of the choice of schools just a little bit. But we do focus heavily on those Balco bills and the residential address to make sure that children are allocated correctly in your correct zone. At the preschool level, you have one choice of school because there's generally just one choice in your parish. However, when it comes to primary school, you have a choice of 6. It is recommended that you you have 2 choices. So you put down a first and second choice, but it is recommended that you select the school that is closest to your residence. We have had last year some persons who didn't get first choice or second choice, and I had to call the parents to discuss a third option. And so it should be noted that, especially in primary school as well, siblings get into the schools first, provided that your sibling is not in P6, because your sibling in P6 will be moving on to middle school. But otherwise, that siblings get in first, and then the remaining applicants that are permitted into that P1 class will be made up of first choice applicants.
So
If
how
I
do
can just,
you, yeah, sorry, can I just ask a quick question though? I'm still a little bit confused about how you rationalize who gets in and who gets on the waiting list.
okay, so like I said, we'll use a little bit of example here. If there
Yeah.
was 5 persons admitted into a P1 class, if all of the 5 spaces, if there are some students who have siblings, the siblings will get in first. So say out of 5 placements, there
Okay.
are 2 of those children have siblings, then that means there's just a remaining spaces of 3, and they will go to the 3 students who selected the school as their fresh option, who are closest. So sometimes I even have to resort to Google Maps to see who is the closest. So I will often write down on the application the proximity to the schools, just in case there is some type of discrepancy. I have it noted on the application, the proximity to the schools. If I can just add right now, though, in terms of preschools, just a reminder that every child who is in government preschool still has, if they choose, have to apply for placement for P1. And I stress that because we have a number of applicants last year who, just because the school is, say, for instance, Victor Scott Preschool, they thought that they were automatically transitioning into Victor Scott Primary School because the preschool is in the school. Likewise for Lyceum, people think that Lyceum feeds automatically into Francis Patton, and the other school would be Lagoon transitioning into Somerset Primary, and Southampton transitioning into Southampton Glebe.
So they have to.
Okay.
It's also a whole
So that
separate
does
process.
not here. It's not automatic.
Okay. So
Okay.
everybody's got to reapply. There is a question here, but there's also another question. So I'll come back to this one, which is related to your work. Somebody is asking, what if there are no bills in the parent's name? What can be used?
Okay.
Now you
If
said,
there's
yeah,
not a
go on.
Balco bill, we prefer a Balco bill. If there is not a Balco bill, we will accept a copy of a bank statement. I do not need to see debits and credits, but simply Jackie Eve on BNTB letterhead. We do not accept anything that is not considered residential. So like a
Right.
cable bill, that can be accepted because it's a landline. However, a cell phone bill is not accepted.
So
Okay, we can
some,
also use vehicle registration if it's current. Driver's licenses are not accepted because some persons do not change their address until which time it expires.
so some people, some parents live with their parents. So would it be, they wouldn't have bills of their own.
Okay,
So
so
would it be the grandmother?
those persons, if it is a situation such as that, we can have a discussion. There are ways that we can possibly use that, but we try not to because I still have identified in the past, there have been some very creative ways that persons have tried to use grandmother's name, and it was identified that they did not actually reside in grandmother's house. So
Right.
I'm very careful with that because the members of the public do come back and it does get back to say, you may want to check into that.
So people, obviously have their preferences, um, and try to get into the school of their choice, even
Yes,
though they don't live in the area.
yes.
Can anybody talk about that? Are all preschools pretty much equal in terms of what they're offering and the qualifications of teachers, etc.?
Yes, all the preschools use the same curriculum and we share the same professional development. Now, each preschool is headed up by a preschool administrator, and each school has their own set of teachers. So there is a school culture that schools may create within their school that is unique
Yeah.
to them. However, the standard is the same across because we are the Bermuda public school system preschools. And so there may be differences. There are different things that you can do based on the design of the building, where you're located, whether or not you have a large field or you have less outdoor space, those kinds of things. But in terms of the programming, it is pretty standard across. But of course, we're not. It's not cookie cutter. Everyone brings their own unique flavor to the school
Yeah.
and creates a school environment.
Can I
But
just add,
obviously,
Io,
yeah, yeah.
that at Prospect Preschool, we have an classroom called the Growing Connections, and that's where we support children that are diagnosed with ASD or developmental delays. So that's our only preschool that offers that service for sick children.
Okay.
But when we talk about special needs children, they can go to any of the preschools in their zone, and we will try to meet their needs, whatever their needs are at that preschool, any
Right.
support that they would need. So I just wanted to add about Prospect Preschool.
What is what's the population in proportion to other children of special needs children? What are the numbers like?
So each year is very different. Some years we have a lot of kids coming in with some sort of special needs, and then some preschools wouldn't have any for a year, 2 years. It all depends. I can't really say, and I haven't actually did the data on that. Maybe that's something I need to do. But each year is very different depending on the needs of the children.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. There's a
Io,
question here. Yeah. Go ahead.
I have one question that's come through in regards to guardianship. So we do know that sometimes there are parents who do not have custody anymore of their children, and there are grandparents or aunts or uncles. So if there is any applicants who would like to apply and they have guardianship of a child, we do ask that a guardianship letter, or if it's any type of court document if possible, or something that states that they have legal guardianship of that child. We do ask for a copy of that and we place it on the child's file as well, for reference.
Right. Thanks. So there's a question here about camps. Do the preschools offer camps for school breaks? Camps don't
What
take
we what we
children
do
from one.
offer is we have after school programming, and in some of our schools we have before school programming that is organized by the teachers at the school. We some of the schools do have camps that are run over the school breaks, and that would be usually it would be the school staff that are organizing these to help support families. Now, when we become future focused, we would like to have programming over the school breaks for all children so that we have stability, continuity with our families so that they're not having to take children from one environment to the other. So we are hoping to have the early morning care, afternoon care, as well as a holiday care so that children remain in their familiar environments and that they are not at risk for any kind of safety issues or concerns. We do expect that there would be more than one person at all of these programs to ensure safety, and that we do follow the Department of Health guidelines for any teachers that are running programs during at the school facilities.
Right. What should
So we thank you.
yeah, gotcha. What should show parents, the first time parent, you know, putting their child into preschool, be thinking about in terms of the child's experience? Should they have any concerns, you know, because they'll be handing over their child for the first time to somebody else for
Mm.
most of the day. What should they be concerned about, Mrs. Manuel?
Well, hopefully, uh, once the child receives their acceptance letter, we will have an orientation. Now, I'm assuming that we're still going to be in COVID protocols, so that would have to be via Zoom. We will do everything we can to try and make the parents and the child as comfortable as possible before they start in September. The way we would do that is last year we sent little videos of the teachers giving a little tour of the classroom, showing the children the types of toys they're going to be playing with, being very enthusiastic and telling them how much fun they're going to have at preschool. Depending on where we are with COVID, last year we were able to invite parents in small groups with their child,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that did help alleviate some fear. But it is a
Okay.
difficult situation with COVID, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll do the best we can to make parents feel comfortable.
But I just want to let parents know that we have virtual open houses next
Oh
week,
yes,
and we're really excited.
Yes.
We're really
Yeah.
excited about that, and so they can log on or click that
Starting on the
link
10th.
and join. And sorry,
Yeah.
and that
That's
way they can see the school, see the staff that are at the school, hear all about a typical day at the school. So that virtual open house next week for all preschools at different times, of course, is where parents can get their first connection with a preschool.
Right. So that
great.
starts on Monday. And there are 3 preschools a night, starting at 6 o'clock. So please go to our Bermuda Public School Facebook page, find the link, sign up. You have to register for the open house to attend. If your name is not on the list, unfortunately, you will not be admitted into the session to view, but they will be posted after the fact on our Bermuda Public School YouTube page. And as much as we want as many applicants and our preschools full once again, in some instances, we may not every applicant may be successful, and you will be placed on the waiting list. And to that, so that no one misses out, you may want to consider enrolling for, I hate to say this, for public and private at the same time to make sure that your child has a placement. But of course, make us the first choice.
That's
And
travesty,
hopefully
man.
everyone, pardon?
Sacrilege. That's sacrilege. How could he
Well,
say that?
we try our best not to turn anyone around. I think Ms. Bushi, Ms. Manuel, I think everybody on the panel can vouch for that. Um, I guess I'm happy to say that we are full. All of the preschools are full, and they still have a waiting list from some children who did not get in September. So I think that is a positive thing for Bermuda Public preschools, to say that we are at capacity, and I receive calls every day.
Yes,
Okay,
and go
well,
looking.
it's almost 7 o'clock, and there is a question here about when do parents get notified of acceptance? There's
Mm.
another question, do you have to register for before and after school care? How
Mhm.
long does after school care go to? Um, Another question is about open house. How do you get on the list to watch a primary school open house?
Okay,
That's
primary
easy. I can answer that. So you need to go to
primary schools are
pri
finished.
sorry, primary schools are finished. I'm sorry. I'm
Yes,
thinking preschool. Sorry, you missed it. But there will
But
be a
do we
they'll
video.
have
be
There will be
recording?
uploaded.
videos up on YouTube. So keep in touch with the Facebook page, and we'll be uploading all the videos of all the open houses. You you can subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get a notification that it's actually uploaded. Okay, so I'm going to take that question off. Sorry. Oh, Marion Dyer says some open houses will start at 5:30. I thought they were all at 6.
5:30 is for early entry
Yeah.
for 6 o'clock start.
Okay, so the preschools, it is still registration, and that kind of annoys people, but we did have a security incident, and we're trying to make sure it's not repeated. So people who are not registered will not be admitted. They have to go to the registration link, which is preschools.live/questions. It's a bit misleading because it says questions and register, because we originally had it for people who had questions and registration was not mandated. So now it is. You've got to use that. It's a very good question. Do you get notification to confirm registration? Normally you would.
That's
However, the actual meeting links are on Facebook anyway. So as long as you know you've registered, if we can, because things are so administratively sometimes quite hectic in these offices, in my office especially, because I'm really, really busy. I try to get you notification back on the same day, but it might be half an hour before the actual meeting. All right, so Marion Dyer is saying St. David starts at 5:30. Sarah Brown is saying Lyceum starts at 5:30.
Lyceum. Yes, some do start at
Lyceum.
5:30. They're half an hour
What does
slots.
Lyceum mean anyway? I've always wondered that.
School in French. It's French.
Is it?
But it was
It's not French. Are you
it's
serious?
named after the Lyceum Hall, which is next to the Crystal Caves. That was the original location, and when it moved,
I'm gonna Google that
unfortunately,
thing.
we were not able to change the name very easily. But it's not Lyceum, and Lagoon Park Preschool is not in Lagoon Park any longer. It's actually at Somerset Preschool building. We recognize that can cause some confusion, but let it be known it's not that easy to change.
Lyceum is Greek. It's not French, it's
Okay.
Greek.
Oh, well, thank you,
Be
Mr.
misleading the people.
Leopold.
Bermudians need to know they're Greek. They can't be talking French and saying it's Greek and
Well,
saying it's French, please.
Pardon me.
Bermudians, this is the ancient first civilization, Lyceum is, sorry. Can I have fun at work, please? Since we had all these technical issues, it's how I deal with stress. I crack jokes. So anyway, sorry. We've got another question. Let me see if there's any more questions before. Okay, St. David starts at 5:30. Lyceum starts at 5:30 on the 26th
It was a
of January.
question, Io, about the before and after school care. Maybe Ms. Bucci wants to address that. Before and after school care at preschool.
Look at that. Sarah agrees with me. Lyceum is Greek, named after a hall. It's like a big
Well,
theater,
you know,
auditorium type thing.
I
Gymnasium.
must,
You all see
yes,
that?
and I am corrected. I stand corrected. I believe French might be something like Léopold or something like that. I took French
My
many
French
years
isn't
ago.
bad, so I know that's not French.
Yeah, okay. But in any event, let's get back to the topic here, which is
No
before and
worries.
after school. And we have, once again, we have the teachers that are supporting us with the early morning care. It's usually just a half an hour before school starts, depending on the location of the school, and not all of the government preschools have that. So we are, again, looking at the future. We would love to have it standardized where we have early morning care. That is in our future plan. You may have heard about school redesign, and that is certainly one of the areas that we want to improve in. And the after school program, in most of the schools, it finishes at 5:30. And some, if you're going as far as Southampton or up further, it would be 6 o'clock. Now, registration for the after school programs and before school programs would take place during orientation once your child is accepted. You would share your interest in before and after school. We get an idea of the numbers so we know how many we need to cater for. But as we address the needs of the public and bring added value and ease to parents, we are looking to have early morning, after school, and holiday care right at our preschools. And this will be a part of the Learning First School redesign for early childhood. Some other
Right.
exciting things that will.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I think we're over time. Is everybody good for that
Oh,
because of the technical issues? I think we
yes,
should continue a little bit longer.
Okay.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
yes,
Sure.
Panel? Does anybody have
yes.
to
Sure.
go?
Sure.
I know some
No.
people are on vacation and stuff like that, and they might have dinner plans or whatever. So
Goodness.
I just want to make sure that we cover everything because I was a bit
Yes.
discombobulated earlier on because of the technical issues, and I didn't quite have enough time to pull myself together
Mr.
because of some.
Johnson, it was another question about when would a
Yeah.
parent hear about acceptance for Ms. Bucci as well.
Yes.
When
Yes.
would they
Can
hear
we?
about acceptance since we talked about private, applying at private and public? So,
Yeah. Can we address that
Yes,
one, please, Miss Bucci?
Miss Eve and I have talked about that, and we have agreed that it would be sometime in May. We would like it to be
April.
sooner, but we have four schools, four levels registering at the same time, and it's quite a busy time. So to be safe,
Mhm.
it could be sooner, but we're saying May.
okay.
So, Jacqueline Eve, this is for you. You know, this question right here on the screen because
I'm trying to avoid that question.
you
What would
you
what would
mentioned
the
Okay,
private school.
what about those who
private school?
cannot afford private school? Just as I explained earlier, unfortunately with COVID, I have seen more applications. When we went out for COVID in March, I had already placed everyone and I was full then. I saw an influx of applications as a result of persons losing employment and change of income. And so we have seen many more apply for government preschools. Like I said, I'm very excited for that. But unfortunately, we are not able to accommodate everyone. Um, we must keep in mind that we do have spaces, but we do not have as many spaces as we do for P1 because we are governed by the Act. And with the Act, we have to have a placement for persons who are going into P1, which is 5 years old. So that is why I put out that plea to parents to kind of run things concurrently because we do not have as many placements as we do at the P1 level. What happens is if you are placed on the wait list, do not give up hope and think it's the end and do all, that it is the end of everything. Because what happens is I do
Yeah.
work all year through. And any child who is placed on the wait list and who may not receive an acceptance letter around May, um, and I put you on the wait list, there is a strong possibility that you may still get a placement over the summer. So do not be upset, do not be alarmed. Some parents actually give up their placements. We have persons who may leave the island. We have persons that may resort to a private placement. Some children are waiting for to hear back from scholarships, and so they may be going to another placement. So don't give up hope just because you may be waitlisted, because there may be some hope yet. I will stress though that
Yes.
please apply on time. Those ones who apply on time and who may be waitlisted are generally those ones who may be granted a spot before September. It's those ones who are late who come August the 31st, September 1st, and want to apply for a spot, and very upset that they cannot get a spot for the commencement of the school year.
Yeah, gotcha. So, I guess you've answered this question. Under what circumstances would the
Under
child
what
not be accepted?
Right. Basically, not be accepted is number one, if your child is not toileted. Also, incomplete application. So that means no submission of a birth certificate or verification of or some type of verification of address, an acceptable verification of address. And then simply, we have no more spaces. So, and then, like I said, you'll be placed on the wait list.
Yeah.
Is it first come, first serve? It is not. We did have a few persons last year who were on the doorsteps, possibly the night before, and I was first. So no, it may not, just because you may be that first person in line, or the first application submitted online, does not mean that your child may not be toileted. So then you may come off the list, but yet you were the first one who applied for online registration. So it is not based on first come,
Right.
first serve.
So basically, parents have to be realistic and honest about their child's sort of development.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there's some clarification that we need to do about the times of the open houses. And I know I was a little bit confused because the preschool ones are all at the same time. But the primary schools are all at the same time, but the preschools, because they're sharing a meeting link, they come one after the other. So we'll make it clear on Facebook what those times are. And I'll probably do that this evening and put it on Facebook so that everybody knows what time each school will start their presentation. I probably would advise, because the presentations are quite quick, so it's like 20, 30 minutes, right, Ms. Pucci? And then the
They're
next...
about 25 minutes, and we're running them. We have all on the same evening. We're jumping on for one school, coming off for the next, and half an hour slots.
Right.
And so they will be quick. There should be time for a few questions and answers, and then there will be contact numbers for the administrator if there's any further information that you need.
But also, I think I would suggest that parents maybe get in the meeting from 5:30, because that's when the first one will start. So you're not waiting to get into the meeting, There will be, because what's happening is, like, maybe 3 schools will be having the meeting on the same day using the same Zoom link.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want people to be very clear about that. Okay, so don't sort of wait to the last minute to get in for your meeting. Just be early. Be there at 5:30, and then that if yours is at 6 and you're there on time. Because we're not encouraging people to come late at all, and because of security concerns, we don't want to admit people who are not registered. That's important, so you need to get registered. So I think we pretty much... Is there any other questions out there in Facebook land? Yeah, we know Lyceum is Greek. We live and learn, every day.
And it's okay to make mistakes, and that's what we learn in preschool. You need to take risk, and it's all right. Life goes on. You can't get all beat up about that. We just keep moving forward, live and learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyra Simmons said it did look confusing on the Facebook page. I'm taking licks today, man. It's true.
Mr. Johnson,
yeah.
I'll just like to add, if a parent has a child who has special needs, please reach out to me. I am available Monday to Friday, all through the summer, every day through the week. We can sit and talk and chat about what their child needs so that we are ready for your child. So my numbers will be coming up at the end, where you can reach out to me and we can talk, and I can make sure your child has a smooth transition. Okay,
Does anybody know what this means? Like Pete the cat, keep on singing your song.
Oh, yes.
Like, it's a book. I'll give it to you,
Okay.
Io. It's a book.
I
It's about living,
I miss
learning, and
preschool.
singing your song.
I went to nursery school. I didn't go to preschool, and I'm sure we didn't have
Okay.
creative curriculum in those days. Um, okay,
Well,
thank
we
you.
had
I'd like
something
to read that
similar.
book.
Okay.
Life
That's it.
goes on, Tara. Tara Simmons says. Okay, you know what? I
Thanks,
think we
Tyler.
should. This,
Yes.
Just
Yeah,
laughing.
we didn't talk much about the primary
oh,
one. The focus mainly
oh
here
yeah.
this evening was the transition between CDP coming in or from other home daycare environments into preschool, but also it's the transition from preschool into P1. And so we know that we will have more than those that are at our government preschools now coming into primary one. So we may have some first time parents who are registering for primary one. So Ms. Eve is still the person that you would need to speak to contact if you have any questions. That preschool and primary registration is online. And we're excited because this year coming up, we are extending our curriculum up into the P1 where we are closing gaps for children and we are looking at children where they are. So that means that the learning starts from where the child is, where they're ready to move on. So these are exciting times and we are excited about a school redesign. Have a look, learn a little bit more about that on Learning First. You can go to Bermuda Public Schools and or moed.pm and learn a bit more and participate in the conversation. And we look forward to another conversation where we can focus on early childhood education, which is from birth to age 8. And we'll bring on child development program and primary so we can see the continuity, the connectivity across the early years. But this has certainly been a wonderful evening. Thank you to my colleagues and to our moderator, Mr. Io Johnson. It has been like sitting off in our living rooms and having a conversation. Thank you.
Can I? Sorry, before we sign off, I would like to sort of ask each of you to talk about how do you see the future in the near future. I mean, I'm not talking about that other stuff that's going on over there. I'm talking about what sort of things are you working on to sort of improve the preschool experience currently, Mrs. Bucci?
So currently, our preschools are operating under the COVID protocols. And so what we're doing is being intentional about keeping our programs developmentally appropriate and ensuring that we have communication, engagement, because of course we're operating in these groups or what we refer to as bubbles, and safety is number one. But in addition to that, is having the children having joyful learning experiences that are developmentally appropriate. And that means that we have to switch at times from being remote or in school. But our curriculum, we use Teaching Strategies Gold, which is our digital platform that allows us to be able to support families with children learning at home. And so we have Ready Rosie that it's a program for parents where we give them ideas of what they can be doing at home as well. So because homes are learning environments also, they're the first school, they're the parents are the first teachers. And so we are partnering more and more with families and being flexible and responsive as the situation with COVID goes along and moving more futuristically or progressively with our inquiry curriculum. That's our pedagogy, the way that we teach. It's the how, and the what is all the exciting studies that we do, including learning about Bermuda. So these are the areas that we are focusing our craft, our resources to support our curriculum and our families at home. Now, for the primary school, we are, like I said, we have been engaged in training with the P1 teachers on
Okay.
active learning. So that is more exciting, hands-on type experiences for children.
Okay. So, Jacqueline, it's your turn
Yes.
now. When will the application be available online? And also talk about, the future for you, the near future. What sort of stuff you're working
The application will be available. The link is available. Unlike other years, with the online registration, I have it closed right now. So the link is available. It will be posted next week, but it will still not be open yet. We will open it on February the 2nd. So, and that is because I have a number of registrations. All of my registrations are within the next 2 weeks. And so I have 4 registration periods within the next 2 weeks. So I have to definitely control it. And so primary and preschool will be open. Their time frame will be open up from the 2nd to the 4th. I will keep it
on?
open
What
after the
time?
4th.
What time? It sounds like a competitive process, so
Midnight,
parents want to know
midnight. So
exactly when.
if the parent stays up at 12:01, they can
They'll
go
get in
on and
first.
complete their application. Yes, and the application, I must say that you can start it if you do not complete it. It shouldn't take you that long, but if you do have to stop it for anything, you can sign back in and complete it until which time you do have it submitted. But it has to definitely be submitted by the 4th.
Awesome. A few words about your future. Not your future, but the future of work.
I don't know what I can say. I guess the only thing that I would like to see from my end, and it will probably come with skill redesign, is more placements available, because there is a need for more placements. I believe that public education, um, people may have a lot to say, but we do a lot of positive things. And I believe someone expressed early on the panel is that we are our first child's best advocate. So I am my child's first teacher, and so if we start with that, our children should be able to do the best wherever they go. And so I would like to see increase in placements. Right now we cannot accommodate that in the buildings and whatnot that we do have. And then I think the only other thing that I know sometimes Ms. Bushi and I have had this conversation is that parents will like to see increase in programs for 3-year-olds. We are not by law have to have programs for 3-year-olds, but there is a cry out in the community for that. But with like anything else, we have to make sure that we have sufficient space for it. We have to make sure that we have sufficient teachers and all the services that go with that if we are to open up way for 3-year-olds to come into our system. But then I believe as well, it goes to some onus on parents as well, is that such things as toilet training and everything like that will have to take place earlier. So we have to make sure that if we do open up that gap, that parents also work with us. That is, I preach a lot of that from my space. Sometimes I feel more than a registration or attendance coordinator because I am a very strong advocate for not only my child, but also for public education. And so we have to do our part.
Thank you. There's a comment here that we should be teaching coding, machine learning, and AI would be great at that level. Is that something that's done at preschool?
I don't think so, not right now.
No, Yes, not right now, but we do include the sciences and technology, and
Mm-hmm.
our curriculum is progressive. And the school
Mm-hmm.
redesign, I know that many of our children are learning that even now before they even come into
Mm-hmm.
school.
Nice.
We Education is changing rapidly. The world is changing rapidly. We are in an age of technology. Our focus is on STEM and STEAM. And so, certainly, we will be exposing our children to all kinds of learning. And with our school redesign, we will be following children's interests as well. And so, we will not be stuck in tradition and but more with exploration, engagement, and working along with children where it is developmentally appropriate. Where we are careful in this age to ensure that, yes, we include technology, we include screen time, we have children using computers, iPads, and all of that, but that does not substitute their relationships and their hands
Mm-hmm.
on learning. So we are careful to work within development. And so as the research comes out and as technology and experiences and science, all of that, we can certainly be at within their developmental limits, expose children to changing and ever updating curriculum.
Right. Mr. Manuel, what are your thoughts about the future? I can't. We can't stop without showing this picture of this kid doing some blockwork here. Is he practicing to be a mason or something? What's
Well,
going on there?
we're doing our building study, and so we give them the materials so that they can create their own buildings. We were looking at
Wow.
some blueprints, and then we actually took some pictures once they created their building, and then we give them the picture, and the next day they can look at it and see if they can recreate it again. So they're a bit like an architect.
Awesome. Sorry, there's a
So
sorry. Yeah, go on.
no, I just hope that we are building future architects and construction workers and all sorts of careers by offering the curriculum that we are. And I hope that we are creating lifelong learners who are going to ask questions and not be afraid to be inquisitive about life. That's what I hope for our future of
Yeah,
our children.
awesome. So the last commenter said she agreed with Miss Bucci's answer. I think she talked about the coding bit and making sure that you don't have them on screens all the time. Do you deliberately limit the amount of screen time that kids are on? Is there like a
Absolutely.
yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our kids are hardly on at all. Here and there they are,
Hmm.
especially if we're looking something up to help us find the answer to a question. Um, but other than
Awesome.
that, we're really not on the screen very much at all.
Great.
Everything's very hands on.
Okay.
But we will,
Well,
because
yeah.
of the way that we are in COVID and children being having to learn at home, we
Well,
during remote learning, we have more screen time where the children have contact and access to their teachers and school throughout the day because the teachers are still providing a full days of learning. However, we arrange it in a way that children and parents are not on all day long. That would really be too much. The other thing is, in a in the world that we live in, we know that iPads and other pads, phones, smartphones, children have access to them. And so we have to allow them opportunities to use these technologies and to use these devices for researching, for learning. However, they're not the only way that they'll learn. And we have to teach them to make choices and safe choices
Yeah.
because there's so much out there in the world of the internet that our children can be at risk. So I have nothing against exploring and children learning. However, we need to have controls so that children are protected. and that they can still enjoy being a child and wondering and learning. So technology is a tool, it's not the only tool.
Susan Robinson. Oh, everybody's full of praises today. I don't know what to do with myself. This session was a wonderful promotion of our government preschools and preschool educators. Well done.
Excellent.
Does anybody actually have any criticism? Can you just turn up, please? Show up. Where are you? No critics. Right, fine. I guess we've got to accept it, right? Thank you so much. I think it probably should, I really apologize for the technical issues. I actually believe we have a problem with our audio right now. It's out of sync a little bit. Looks like it to me anyway. I want to thank our panel, and I want to beg our panel right here on air live to stay on for 2 minutes, please, so I can just check something to make sure, figure out what has gone wrong today earlier on, because we did that test yesterday. It worked out really well, as we all know. And now all of a sudden, for some reason, because maybe I didn't have time to do all my checks, something is a little bit off. So I apologize to our audience, and I thank you all for your patience. And I really do think I hope it's been a wonderful experience for you. People are a bit more informed if you weren't informed at all. And you all come to the open houses. I will make some clarifications on Facebook about that. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Bucci and Ms. Jacqueline Eve, Nancy Manuel, and Carmelita Trott.
Thank
On
you.
that note, good
Thank you
night, everybody.
for all the support from everyone. We really appreciate you joining us, and we have an awesome team. Our preschools are wonderful, and if I had a child today at that age, I certainly would be making public preschool my choice.
Great.
And I did when my children were at that age.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. You can keep asking questions under this link, and we'll get on if you have any more. We'll get answers to everybody later. So, on that note, good night.